What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. My name is Taylor. You might be looking at the Strat like,
what are you doing, man? You're a metalhead. Why are you using a Strat?
I will get into that in a second here. I want to talk about this pedal, this Origin Effects pedal. Today we're checking out the Origin Effects Revival Drive, the RD Compact Hot Rod Revival Drive. To be specific, there are a few different versions of this pedal. This is the compact one, meaning, you know, it's smaller size. Like if you look on their website, they have some big boys on their website, but this is the compact version and the hot rod version as well. Origin sent me this pedal to try it about a week ago. Look at this packaging, dude. These are made in the UK, obviously. Oh, look right there. RD Compact Hot Rod. This is the one they wanted me to make a video on, so I'm gonna do that. Thrash Plexi in a box. This thing is really weighty, dude. You know, there's something to be said about the quality of things, and this just feels very quality. The knobs are all aluminum. Look at the foot switch here. Look at the foot switch. You know, the attention to detail on this thing is already super impressive to me. If they pay this much attention to the details on the outside of the pedal, imagine the details that they're paying attention to on the inside of the pedal. Do what I said just make sense? Let's weigh this thing, dude, because this thing is a beefy boy. But don't take my word for it. No shade to Mike Fortin or anything, but this is a Fortin preamp pedal. I figured, you know, it's a preamp pedal, it's kind of comparable. So that is 12 ounces. This Origin Effects pedal, 1 pound, 5.8 ounces. So see, it's not just my imagination. This thing is really, really heavy. It's a little bit of a larger enclosure too. This is your pretty run-of-the-mill typical enclosure size. This is like what I use for the Devil pedals. I forget the actual enclosure is called, but you know, it's typical. So you can see this one is a little bit bigger. It's like slightly longer, you know, not by a crazy amount, not enough to really affect your pedal board, but enough to cram more stuff in there, I guess. Pretty stoked to check this thing out. I've heard a lot of really good stuff about these pedals. And I've got to tell you, I've been messing around with it and it's changed the way that I think about pedals a lot. I'll get into that more in this video. I want to be very thorough in this video. Back to the Strat thing. I want to be very thorough in this video. That's why I'm using a Strat right now, because I want to go through a bunch of different sounds with this. I want to see how it reacts to different guitars and different tunings. So we'll get progressively lower and more chungussy as this video goes on. If you're looking for a specific style of guitar or a specific tuning, just check the chapters below. I also want to test it with a boost. That's why the Devil is in front of the amplifier. That is bypassed. It's true bypass, by the way. So it's bypassed right now. It's like it's not even in the chain. I'm running all of that into my Boss Waza tube amp expander. I'm just using this as a power amp to power this Marshall cabinet. The Marshall cabinet felt appropriate for this type of pedal. Again, we'll get into all the reasons why as we go through, but let's listen to this thing first. This simulates some more hot-rodded, I would call them like more rock and roll style amplifiers, but metal, like the precursors to metal amplifiers. Specifically, a hot-rodded Plexi, and then we also have like a Fender Twin, I think. Let me just read you the specs. This is the Origin Effects Revival Drive Compact Hot Rod pedal. It's a pedal that's designed and assembled by hand in England. Now the cool thing about this pedal is it features a complete hot-rodded valve. They say valve over in the UK, but being over here in the US, we call them tubes. But either way, it features a valve amp style signal path with a dedicated Class A preamp, a long-tailed pair phase inverter, and push-pull output stage. It has variable negative feedback to fine-tune breakup characteristics or boost presence, a reactive design that simulates interaction between amp and speaker for realistic feel and authentic sound. It also accurately recreates power sag for subtle natural compression. It gives you full control of the character of the tone, the dynamic response, and the distortion. There's also a blend control if you wanted to integrate this into your natural amp sound. It has a high impedance buffered bypass for silent switching. We also have a three-way toggle switch in the front. Now what this does is it lets you switch the pedal in between preamp mode or lets you run it in front of an amplifier. If you're running it in front of an amplifier, you have two EQ modes you can switch between. One is a little bit darker if you have an excessively bright amplifier. And all of that comes in at 287.5 pounds if you're in the UK, or if you're over here in the US like me, it is $439. Okay, so now that you know the specs, the thing that makes this pedal unique is it recreates the full analog signal path of multiple amplifiers. So specifically with the hot rodded Revival Drive, you can blend in between a Fender sound to more of a Marshall sound to more of a hot rodded Marshall sound. The response and the feel of the pedal is pretty unique. You can see it's a larger than normal pedal, and like I demonstrated earlier, it is also a much heavier than normal pedal, and it feels like there's just a lot of things put in that pedal to make it respond and feel the way that it does, because it has a lot of very unique amp-like qualities to it. Let's play and I'll go through them a little bit. That shit is probably gonna get copyright claimed. I don't want this video to get copyright claimed, but Jesus Christ, does that not sound like that? Yeah. My immediate impression with the Origin Effects RD Compact Hot Rod, we just call it the Origin Effects pedal. You know what I'm talking about, it's right here. My immediate impression with the Origin Effects pedal is how rich it sounds. Like it really does, and it really does respond quite a bit to your playing. Let's coil split the bridge here. Now this is where I suggest you get out the instruction manual, because despite this looking very straightforward on the surface, these controls might not operate in the way that you think they do, or at least the way I thought they did, because, you know, I'm a caveman, so. If you're a caveman like me, read the instruction manual, it'll help you out. So right here, it says shape your voice. The highs, if you turn the highs anti-clockwise, it's counterclockwise in the US, that's weird, anti-clockwise. Anyways, if you turn the highs counterclockwise, it will replicate the shape of a hot rodded Marshall with everything at noon. Midpoint is a cranked high gain Marshall Plexi, which is where we're at right now, and then all the way clockwise for a modded Fender tone. So let's hear the difference. Let's go to the Fender tone here. And then we'll go the opposite way, which is the hot rodded Marshall. It's very, very subtle, but the high end just sounds a little bit different. You know, when you go to the Marshall side, it sounds more mid-focused, a little bit warmer. Turn the gain down a little bit here and like, let's go for a more clean tone. It does clean up really well. Let's add more gain. Let's check out the low end. It's very similar to a Marshall, where the low end on a Marshall is, you know, it's not deep like a 5150 or something like that. It sits a little bit higher in the EQ range. So, you know, for that reason, I'd actually probably dial it down a little bit, and let's mess with the presence. So this is interesting here. What the presence is doing is, if you go up, it's acting like, you know, a presence knob on an amplifier, but if you go down, it's actually reducing the negative feedback in the pedal. It's achieving similar results, but the feel is a little bit different. It very much sounds like a Marshall, man. It very much has the same sort of feel and vibe playing one too. And I would say that if I was gonna compare this to other preamp pedals to try and give you an idea of what I am experiencing while I'm playing it, it is quite a bit different. You'll notice with a lot of digital stuff, you have various degrees of aliasing, which is, you know, high-end information that doesn't exist with analog gear, that just, you know, shows up in a lot of digital products. Some are worse than others. That's just part of, you know, digital things. But with this, like compared to another solid state preamp pedal, I would say that this feels a little bit less flat. It feels more lively in some ways. But again, there's varying degrees of that. Not all preamp pedals are created equally. It just is what it is. It is just such a ripping thrash tone though, really on par with a hot rodded Marshall. Let's go back to the middle, which is simulating a cranked plexi. Let's try boosting this and see how it takes a boost pedal. I would say that sounds like a boosted crank plexi. Okay, so we know how this sounds with a Strat and a more standard tuning. Let's switch over to a guitar that's in a little bit of a lower tuning and see what that sounds like. This is my BC Rich Ironbird. It has a DiMarzio distortion, I believe. If I'm wrong, I'll put it on screen. But yeah, it has a DiMarzio in the bridge. And I just chose this guitar because I feel like I don't play it enough, to be honest with you. We have a similar thing going on here. Like when you go into a Marshall Plexi or JCM 800, you know, for that matter, with a lower tuned guitar, everything shifts a little bit. And the way that the amp responds is a little bit different. And this pedal, in my experience, is behaving a very similar way that like Marshall amp would. I think the lower we go, the more we're gonna have to sculpt that low end a little bit here. So let's do that with the boost pedal. You can see I'm like cutting. That's what this girth knob does, is it cuts the low end, and then I'm adding it back in here. This low end is at like 80 hertz or something like that. So it's adding in like a deeper low end, and then I'm just like cutting out a little bit of that high and giving it a little bit more gain for texture. I wonder if we can add a little bit more low end into the amp. If I was using one of these amplifiers, Marshall, Fender, if I was using one of the real amplifiers it's simulating, I would definitely want a boost pedal as well for the type of music that I like to play. And that's not going to apply to everybody. It's not like you need a boost pedal. This pedal is not what I'm saying, but just for metal, the way that I like to play it, it definitely benefits from having a boost pedal. And it takes a boost pedal really well. The interaction between the boost pedal and then this pedal acting as a preamp pedal, it works really well together. Let's go back to the hot rodded Marshall sort of sound. Again, boosted. I would describe this as very growly. We don't have that deep low end like we would on a 50-50 or something like that, but where it makes up for that is in this really rich, growly mid-range. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm getting carried away with this pedal a little bit. It's a lot of fun to play. It sounds really good. The way it responds, the way it feels on your fingers playing it is just really unique and interesting. I don't know how much of that has to do with like replicating the full signal chain of an amplifier. Like I'm not a pedal builder or an amp builder or any sort of builder for that matter, but it definitely is noticeable to me while I'm playing it. Let's switch over to lower tuned guitar now, and then we'll put this in front of like a small amplifier, see how it interacts in front of an amplifier, you know? So yeah, let's do that now. This is the 𝐓𝐇𝐀𝐍𝐒 something or other Pale Moon that I reviewed on the channel a little while ago. It has Fishman Fluence Moderns in it. Obviously, it's a 7-string multi-scale guitar tuned down to Chungus Bungus tuning. You know, this might not be a necessary thing, but I just wanted to try it. I just wanted to try plugging a low tuned guitar into this, just because again, when you tune down lower, the response of everything shifts a little bit, you know? So I just wanted to see what that was like with this one. Let's boost this again. Yeah, dude, it handles low tunings really well. And you can see the low end, like I turned the low end up quite a bit with this. It just shifted. The lower tuning just made the low end a little bit deeper from the pedal. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to try this for a second, you know, no big deal. Let's plug the pedal into the front of an amplifier real quick and see how that changes things. Okay, we're plugged into the MT15 this time. We're on the clean channel here. We need to switch the pedal to EQ1. I don't know, we'll try both of them. Here's what the amp sounds like on its own. I thought we'd change up the guitar one more time too, why not? This is a Jackson Warrior with Fishman Fluence Moderns in it. It's tuned to C standard. Let's turn the pedal on. let's go to the other EQ. So EQ2 must be if you have a little bit of a darker amplifier. And then you can use this adjustment knob to sort of adjust that. I'm gonna leave that up actually, that sounds good. You know, this sounds excellent as a preamp pedal, but I think I almost prefer it, which I never do. I never prefer pedals in front of an amp, like almost never. But in this case, I really do prefer this pedal in front of this amplifier. Let's go back to the Marshall mode with this in the center. Boost this. That sounds really satisfying to me. I'm really good with this tone right now. Yeah, and plugging it into the front of an amplifier as well, you know, the low end control is quite a bit different when you run it this way. This thing sounds really cool. Okay, here's my final thoughts on the Origin Effects RD Compact Hot Rod Pedal. That is a mouthful. I'm just gonna call it the Origin Effects pedal. I really like this pedal a lot. I think it's really cool. Now, the caveat with that is, I think it's a luxury item. You know, due to the price here in the United States, it kind of falls into the range of like luxury boutique, which it is, it's a boutique pedal. It is a larger pedal, it is very heavy, like I demonstrated earlier, and I think that that price is justified, but just like with a Rolex, you know, does everyone want or need a Rolex? Or maybe you're an Apple Watch, I'm an Apple Watch person, maybe you're an Apple Watch person. I don't know where I'm going with this, but my point is, nice things are nice, and it's nice to have nice things. And if you are interested in one of these, you probably are already very well aware of how much they cost, and do I think that price is justified? I do. I think it's quite a unique pedal. Now, going back to the clickbaity title of this video, not really sure what I named this video yet, but this pedal really did change the way that I think about pedals. Let me explain that. I think a lot of times with pedals, what manufacturers try to do is they try to cram so many things in there to give you options, to make it seem more valuable. And a lot of times what can happen with that is you can get too many options, and maybe you end up at sounds that you might not like, or they don't sound very good. You know, it's like that saying, jack of all trades, master of none. A lot of pedals are really like that. And that's not the case with, this is a master of like 3 sounds, you know? And the thing that this pedal has been making me think about a lot lately is it's probably better just to have really, truly inspiring tone, even if it's only 1 or 2 tones with some small variations between them, rather than to have a plethora of just mediocre tones, you know, or stuff that you're not really happy with. Especially as someone who tinkers with a lot of gear, I think if you find one thing that's really inspiring to you, be it a guitar, a pedal, an amplifier, whatever it is, I think it's way more important to have one truly inspiring thing than a plethora of things that just don't really inspire you. You know what I mean? The pedal is really easy to dial in. Just, again, read the instructions, especially if you're dumb like me. Read the instructions. Now, with all of that being said, me being a total metal, like, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm a metalhead. You know, if you didn't notice, like, good for you. You're not a judgmental person. That's a good thing. But I'm definitely one of those situations where the stereotype is true. And with me being a metalhead, I do prefer it in front of an amplifier because it changes the EQ a little bit and gives you a little bit of a deeper low end, which is something that I really like. Again, metalhead, you know. So in conclusion, the TLDR is, I think this is a really cool pedal. I think it's a very luxury pedal. I think it would serve you well on your board as your main preamp sound if you really want that modded Marshall, cranked plexi, or modded Fender sort of sound. It would also do really well as an extra channel to your amplifier, but for me, it really shines in front of another amplifier. I think that's where, you know, I like it the best at least. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Shout out to Origin Effects for sending this pedal to me to check out for you guys. Shout out to you for being here. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button. If you like what I do here on this channel, consider subscribing or being massively overpowered and joining these fine fellows over here on Patreon, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.